Hey everybody, today we are working on a Sega CD. I'm doing this for my company, Double JIT Consulting. Like I stated before, it's really interesting how these systems were built. They're very simplistic. What's wrong with this system right here is there is no power. The customer got in touch with us through our website, and they were like, listen, do you fix consoles? I said, yes, we definitely do. I have a console, it doesn't work, what is going on? So I said, okay, cool, let's take a look at it. The main thing what's going on with this is no power. When you plug the power into it, it doesn't work. And the reason why it doesn't work is, beside the console being old, it has fuses. It has really small type fuses, and they kind of look like this. And I'm going to bring the board up so you guys can see it. The fuse is this little stem. I'm going to try to put it in the light so you guys can see it. Let me bring you up a little closer. Alright, so it's a stem that's right over here. Now, this is the one that always dies. It goes out. It happens. Normally, you take a multimeter tester to it. I'm not going to do that because, honestly, I know exactly what's going to happen. So, what we're going to do is, we're going to replace it. I got to order the new replacements for it, 2.5 amps. And on live, on our camera here, I'm going to show you what it is to replace this unit. And it's not that bad. The only thing I do have a problem with Sega is their sloppiness. They are very sloppy on how they did their work. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, I'm going to make sure you guys see it in the shot. I'm going to take the old one off, and then I'm going to solder on the new one. So the first thing I want to do is, let me double check here. It is right over here. It's right here. So I went to Radio Shack and I got this desoldering tool, which I love the desoldering tools. And what you're going to do is you're going to put it over the unit. Right? And you suck it. It's a little pain in the butt. Takes a little while because remember these things have been on there for a long time. So okay, give me a second here, everybody. Like I said, it's been a while for this unit. So, and Radio Shack stuff is okay, but I don't have the professional tools for the desoldering gun. They're kind of expensive. But as you can see, some of it went off, you see? It takes a minute. It takes a minute. See? And the reason why this is important is because when I go ahead to pull this out, what's going to happen is we need to make sure that we have enough leverage in the room there. It's hard. It really is when you get to this point. The hardest part is to get this off. After that, it's gravy train on biscuit wheels. Alright, so that looks like that came off too. Let's see, do I have... Give me a second, guys. I'll show you guys in a minute here. No, needs a little bit more on one side. So one came off, the other one is still giving me a hard time, but it's not so bad. I don't think Sega built this to last, to be honest with you. But it's okay, Sega and its point. So one side is coming out perfectly. The other one, not so much. So we're going to have to do the other one again. I think I might have to clean this unit up for the customer as well when we sell it back to him, when we give it back to him, excuse me. Okay. Give me a second, guys. I'll show you what it looks like so far. It's coming off, but just it's taking its time while it's doing it. And you want to take yours. You don't want to break any points here. I'll use my soldering iron to do the next points right here. Give it a little tap on my side, because one is already coming out. The other one is going to give me a hard time, which is alright. It was come to be expected. The main thing that happens to these units is the lens that's right here. That goes bad sometimes, and then you have to replace it. That's not so bad. The only thing that is this fuse. This fuse here, bane of my existence. And it's so cheap too. I think I got the fuse for like $5, the new one. Oof, that wouldn't look so good. Sorry about that, guys. Like I said, it's when you get this desoldering gun from, this is desolder sucker. That's all it does is take out the solder. When you get these from like Radio Shack, it's more of a hobbyist thing, but I didn't have my solder gun. It's coming out now, guys. I'll show you about it in a minute. Looks like it's, there you go. So the main thing is, if you can see really carefully, you want to make sure that you get the clean holes, which I did, right? And it came out here perfectly. So, boom. Now, I'm going to keep this to the side, and there's a reason why for that, and I'll tell you that in a minute. Oh, by the way, when you're done with your desolder sucker, it is done. Please do yourself a favor. I burned myself a couple of times. Not really the best in the world, but you want to remove it. Just shut it down. Get rid of it for now. And the reason why for this is because you don't want to burn yourself when you're working on the project, because the next thing you're going to be doing is working with your actual soldering pen. Try to put it somewhere safe as well while it powers down, I should say, because it's definitely going to be hot. I'm going to put this over here. Sorry about the weight. I don't want to burn myself while I'm working on the next part of the project. Alright, so the next thing you're going to do, or I'm going to do, is take a look at my my little Evans here. So the reason why I do this is because one goes on one side, one goes on the other. Like kind of like positive, negative on a car battery. So once I solder this on, I'm going to pause the camera for a minute. I'm going to cover this back up so you guys can actually see it in power mode. That's what we're going to do next. Now, the reason why they're long, so that way it gives you a good grip on it, but to be honest with you, what's going to wind up happening is, once you get these soldered in there, after you solder it in, you're going to use a nail clipper to clip off the ends. They're too long. You can't keep them in there. And if they grind out on this metal, and you're screwed. You don't want to grind this out. You burn it out, and you burn out the board this time, and you don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do is make sure the holes goes right in the hole, like everything else. And it kind of looks like it did before, right? Okay. And the easiest part, when you do a soldering job, no matter what it is, please, if you're younger, have your parents help you, whatever, to make sure you do it. You bring the solder to the point. You never bring the point to the solder. It doesn't make sense. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Take the soldering pen. You make sure that, yep, see how it's already burning? You want to bring it here. I like to use my breath, but it doesn't help too much. And you bring it to the point. You bring it to the point. Now, you don't need that much, but I like to be secure. I don't know what people do when they get those little tiny points. I like to make sure that the solder got to that point. See? So that's one side. And here's the other. So, sorry about that. I gotta control my... So I should have left my soldering pen, my desolder sucker on. But it's alright. If I have to, I can always put it back on later. We'll push that away. That's the worst part, is when it dries up. Okay. Now, I can see that this didn't take so well, so I'm going to go back on this. Because one side did. This side's perfect. This side didn't take so well, so we're going to heat it up a little bit. Now, I've got to be careful with your fingers, because if you burn them, it kind of hurts. Just like it's hurting me right now. But we're going to get this point in. It moving is definitely not something we want. It takes a second or two for it to dry, but it does dry up. Then what I'm going to do is, since this is not taking really well that way, you go at the bottom. It doesn't hurt so well. You put some over here. It's going to be hard for me to show you guys, so give me a minute. Whoa, that didn't help so well. Okay. And I should have got a sponge from my pen. See, these things are so cheap. I don't know. So, Nintendo feared this unit, and that's when they made the... Well, not really feared it. I can't say feared it. Nintendo was stubborn when it came down to this kind of unit here. And then, pretty much NES still with cartridges. But after a while, Sega was the one who really pioneered CDs. That's the thing. Sega did it. I mean, PlayStation did it later, and that's fine, but Sega was the one who actually did it. Okay. Looks like it's coming on now. It's like the Blob. That's what reminds me of Blob. Alright. This ain't going nowhere. I'm going to make sure that my blob here doesn't stay. See, that's the thing. When it comes down to soldering, you don't want to have too many blob spots. I'm going to get rid of that. Not too many blob spots, because you don't want it to... There we go. You don't want it to just mess around with the board. But look how beautiful that looks. So, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next is this. I'm going to get a nail clipper, clip these off, and what's going to happen is we're going to put this back together, and we're going to see. See, the thing that bothers me the most is this point right here. This point here bothers me the most. Ah, sorry. You bit me. You bit me. That's fine. Alright. So, I'm going to stop the camera, I'm going to put it back together, going to clip these off, and we're going to see if she powers up. Alright guys, I'm back. I put it all together, because when you do the Sega CD, you got to make sure it's all put together, right? So, the power for the system, as well as the power of the Sega CD, needed 2 powers, and to turn this on, the Sega turns it on. It doesn't have its own power switch. Sega turns it on, sends a signal to Sega CD turns on. That's how it works. 2 things I'm going to show you guys today is that I connected to this TV here. It's going to show you a little blurry, snowy picture, and the reason why is I have a analog kind of system. Honestly, it's the Nintendo connector. I used the Nintendo connector to connect the Genesis. Go figure. I didn't have the Genesis connector off the back. Also, for the game we're going to test is the most controversial game that was part of the Senate hearings for the ESRB. Night Trap. So we're not going to play through Night Trap. We're just going to see that the system works. So I'm going to, without further ado, let's turn it on. The power comes up. Checking disk. Press start. Uh-oh. Looks like my customer's going to be happy. Let's see. Perfect. This is phenomenal. There we go. So, as you guys can see, the system works perfectly fine. It's a little blurry. Like I said, it's not meant to be played on a Nintendo connection. It really isn't. It shouldn't be played on it, but it's on there for now. I'm not really crazy about it. I just wanted to show you guys that it does work, and my customer's going to be extremely happy that the system is actually up and running. So, I appreciate you guys taking a look at the tutorial today, and if you need anything in the future, Double JIT will definitely get you taken care of.
The Sega Control attacked him. Scat Mission 230.
Take care, guys.
5 teenage girls have disappeared after spending the night at the old Lakeshore Winery house.